Welcome back. I'm Ian Masters, and this is Background Briefing. And joining us now is Robert Greenwald, a producer, director, and political activist. He's the founder and president of Brave New Films, a new media company that uses film to educate, influence, and empower viewers to take action around the issues that matter. In total, Brave New Films short videos have been viewed over 56 million times in the past 2 years. They've inspired hundreds of thousands of people to take action and forced pressing issues into the mainstream media. Robert Greenwald's films have garnered 25 Emmy nominations, 2 Golden Globe nominations, the Peabody Award, and the Robert Wood Johnson Award. He was awarded the 2002 Producer of the Year Award by the American Film Institute, and his new film, The Koch Brothers Exposed, sheds light on one of the greatest threats to our democracy. Thank you for joining us on Background Briefing, Robert Greenwald.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
And we're very grateful, too, that we're able to offer up some of your films, both past and present. And no doubt there'll be future as well.
I hope so.
So Robert Reich was on previously, was mentioned the Kochs. The name comes up often, and clearly they have been incredibly effective politically. And your latest film about a Coke factory in Crossett, Arkansas, and the pollution that resulted from this factory that's caused what a local doctor refers to as Crossett crud, that's the subject of the film. But what I find extraordinary is that what's happening in this small town in Arkansas is in fact permitted by the Environmental Protection Agency, yet at the same time the Koch brothers, through the Tea Party members of Congress that they've managed to get elected, seem determined to destroy the Environmental Protection Agency. So what do you think their end game is?
Well, their end game is about more money, it's about greed, and it's an ideology, a libertarian ideology that services their financial goals. Now, one could ask, how many billions of dollars do you need? But that's not a question that's asked doesn't seem to be asked in certain political rungs of our society today. But what we've done with the Koch Brothers Exposed campaign, and it's on Facebook, it's on the website Koch Brothers Exposed, it's also on my Twitter account, is we're telling the story and we're showing people that ideology is not a victimless crime, that there are people who are hurting badly because of what the Kochs have done. We see these poor people, primarily African American, in a small town in Arkansas, who are literally dying because of the Georgia Pacific plant run by the Koch brothers, polluting and causing them terrible pain and grief. We see it in another one, a small community in North Carolina, where the Koch brothers were going in and laying the groundwork so that they were resegregating the schools in North Carolina. In another one, we saw how they attacked Social Security and how the millions of dollars that they put into think tanks and pundits and activist groups all work to create a national echo chamber, as you were saying before. In this case, it was a Koch-driven echo chamber about Social Security. So they're real, they're serious. It's important that we put a spotlight on them, and it's important that we motivate people to take action.
So, Robert, it sounds like you're one of the few Americans that are actually joining the fight here, because isn't it pretty clear that the Kochs have declared war on a working American? Don't they want to impoverish millions of our fellow citizens, to take away their Social Security, to take away their retirement's already been taken away in the private sector, take away their health care? I mean, that is their stated agenda. That's not some subterfuge on their part.
No, it's very clear. I mean, and they're very smart in their funding, by the way, as much as I disagree with them in terms of what they're about. The way they're doing it is very smart. In Jane Mayer's brilliant article in the New Yorker about the Kochs last year or the year before, there was a wonderful quote, and they said that the Kochs said they realize politicians are actors who read from a script, and what the Kochs want to do is write the script. So they don't just throw some money into some terrible 30-second spot for some hack elected official. They fund the generating of ideas in the think tanks. Then they fund getting those ideas out into the world with pundits, with books, with lectures. Then they fund grassroots groups that take those ideas, Americans for Prosperity, and move them around. And then ultimately the politicians wind up saying those things. And one of the videos we have is the Social Security echo chamber, and we trace it. We trace the literal sentences from the papers in the think tanks that they pay for. And then ultimately at the end of the video you see politicians using those same words. So it's I think, very important. It deals with the inequities of our society, and these are the 1%, if you will. These are the poster children, the poster boys, the poster men for the 1%, and the terrible toll that it takes on democracy and that it takes on all of our daily lives. It's not abstract. It's there, it's real, and it's painful.
So, if these bilious billionaires, these noxious people driven by greed, who already have $100 billion company, which they built it somewhat, but it was essentially they inherited it from their dad. Mm-hmm. I think they're the third richest Americans. And they're, as I was saying, they're determined to impoverish the rest of us. That is their strategy, which is to weaken government, weaken regulations, have more profit for themselves, and essentially what Robert Reich was talking about, this new social Darwinism, where everybody is sort of cut loose in this kind of plantation economy to fend for themselves. So why doesn't you're fighting back, but why don't citizens fight back? If these guys want to impoverish us, why don't we impoverish them? Why do we buy Dixie cups? Why don't we stop buying Brawny paper towels? Why don't we stop buying Georgia Pacific products?
Well, I think the first step, Ian, is what we're doing right now with you and your show and the work we've been doing is we need to let more people know, look, this is not something that's going to be picked up by the dominant media immediately. So we've been on this campaign for about 9 months now, and we're seeing each week, each day, more and more people see the videos, use the videos as they're meant to be used as organizing tools. People pass them around. The people on the Koch Brothers Exposed Facebook page are very active. The people on my Twitter account who are picking them up and using them are very active. And that's the first step, because it's harder to sort of identify and go after these guys because they're smart, because the funding is spread over hundreds of millions of dollars in so many areas, and the amazing team at Brave New Films that's working on this, that Jeff and Layla and Joseph and Natalie, they've spent months and months digging in and coming up with the dirt, and now it's time to get it out there, and that's where every one of your listeners can be helpful. There's that great line that I am so fond of, democracy is not a spectator sport. Well, it's time to get involved, and here's a perfect time. And with the Occupy movement, I think it's a perfect convergence of seeing the impact of people who are trying to buy democracy, of the terrible inequities in our society, and things that we can do about it.
Well, you've done a lot, I think, Robert Greenwald, both in terms of the films that you've made and how they're being used in this educational kind of networking way. You've also, I think, got under their skin, haven't you? I mean, I spoke the other day to my good friend, the Reverend Billy, who said that he was at a demonstration at the Koch Brothers Lincoln Center where they've got their names up in a building, and the building is a white building, and you rented a room at a hotel across from them and projected the Koch film on the walls of the Koch underwritten building.
Yes, it was at Lincoln Center, and we certainly have gotten under their skin. In fact, that video is also up on the Facebook and the website. We had a lot of fun that night. But they're attacking us. They've come back. They've threatened on the resegregation video. They were threatening literally to sue people in the media who posted or wrote or talked about it. On the cancer video, the one that's out now, which shows their direct role through Georgia Pacific in all of this, is truly disgusting, because in the video you will see two wonderful people, including Mr. Bowie, who's a reverend in this small town of Arkansas, and the Koch brothers chose to attack him and a local river keeper who has nothing to gain except protecting democracy. So those are the communication experts. Those are the hacks that they hire. And those are the levels to which they're stooping, because we're definitely getting under their skin. But the way that's happening is, again, it's never just us, Ian. It's the listeners now who are hearing the show, the people on Facebook, the people who use social media, and say, I'm going to do something. Whether I have 5 minutes, 5 hours, there is something I can do. And the only thing that's not acceptable, particularly at this time in our history in our country, is to do nothing.
And Robert, I'd like to thank you for joining us and for allowing us to offer up your work here to inspire people to turn this country around. My dire warnings notwithstanding, because I as I say, I really think the people have to recognize that the Koch brothers are only just beginning.
Well, thank you for the work that you're doing, and to just remind everyone it does take a village, and KPFK is a key part of that village. So we're all in this fight together, and I look forward to celebrating some victories ahead.